Hey, how you doing? Okay, let's do it to it, my friends. We'll do a couple here that will work a little bit. Okay, we're gonna play here because that's mate. Um, Bishop takes F, King or F6, King G8, and then Queen G7 mate. We have Knight to F2 mate. If Rook takes, King there, then mate. Rook here, King there, check, King back, mate. So either way, we got mate. Oh. Okay, we're in check. That's funny. So king here, up. That handles that, and then it sets up for a mate. Okie dokie. Um, perfect, because this is actually going this way, so we can actually checkmate there. So I had to make sure. You gotta always check your moves. This is mate on F2. Um, so bishop there. Here, there, moves, takes. So check here, king moves, queen, g7. Okie dokie. It's there, mate. Take a king, g2, pawn takes bishop, then check, intercepts, check, check. Oh, so that's not it? I don't understand what. Hmm. There we go. Let's do a new one. And we'll get to 10, then we'll study. this. Rotate, oops. Rotate, there we go. Checkmate, alright. We'll stop, we'll call it right here, and then we'll go into our studies now that we got, we did 10. Okay. Okay, let's see here. I appreciate your patience waiting, but I have to get the names of the players in, so just 1 sec. So let me check to make sure I have this here. Perfect. Yes, okay. We're learning about imbalances now in the opening. So E4. Oops, I have to enlarge the board a little bit. C5. Knight F3. So we're going to do more of a Sicilian here. D4. Pawn takes, knight takes, and then G6. Which is an accelerated Sicilian dragon. C4. We're doing the Maroczy bind. Bishop G7. Bishop E3. Knight F6. Knight C3. So everything's developing. Castles. And then Bishop E2. D6. Castles for white. Bishop D7. This is so that if the knight were to take, the bishop could take. That's actually the whole idea. D6. Or the D6. Bishop, rook C1. This is so that if the knight were to move, we could take this knight. Bishop takes. Rotates if we needed to. Everything's being supported. So knight takes. Bishop takes. Bishop C6. F3 to support the chain. And then A5. This stops white's play of trying to kick the bishop out, so it outposts the so you're gonna have to go like that first and then play. So it holds off temporarily for an outpost on the bishop. B3. And basically everything's fortified, so the Maroczy is fortified. Good water. Knight D7. Start of a thematic black plan. He's going out of his way to exchange off the dark squared bishop so that his other pieces can find free reign on the dark squares. So basically he's trying to exchange off the bishops to have the free reign attack. A3. Bishop takes, check, queen takes, and then knight c5. The first sign of a possible minor piece problem for white can be seen if black's knight is better than white's and his bishop is also superior to the poor e2 bishop. This bishop here is compared to this, and this knight is better placed than this knight. Bishop d1, and then the thematic e5 exclam by black. What you're thinking is, oh, why did he do that? Isn't he weakening the d6? Can't that be attacked? Yeah, but he's trying his best to entomb this bishop, make the bishop a tall pawn. That his light squared bishop, black's light squared bishop, is better than white's light squared bishop. This takes control with dark square on d4 and f4, frees the e pawn, gains space. The potential weakness of d pawn will never be a factor because it could be protected if need be. Queen e2, e3, still working after knight d6, knight e6. The idea is knight into e6. Still working those dark squares, that's what Jeremy Silva says. Black's picturesque knight is now reaching the c5. Actually went from c5 to d4 to f4 to g5. Could potentially be. He could also in route here or in route there. Now he's got an outpost. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Knight e2, which is actually a dubious move here. This is the first sign that white is doesn't know what they're doing. Passively trying to keep black's knight out of d4. Note that a move such as knight to d5 or knight b5 would both be met by black snapping it off by the bishop. So that's kind of the idea here. If that were played, then you would have this, and then a knight can just basically plop itself in on d4 forever, and that'd be really, really, really bad. The only way to kind of dislodge it is to sacrifice a rook for it. So that's why they didn't want to do that. And if the knight were to come here, the bishop would snap itself off, and still the knight would implant itself on d4. The resulting minor piece battle, monster knight versus poor bishop, would arise, and would clearly be better for black, be in black's favor. In this opening, black is also looking for ways to create that a particular minor piece advantage. So he wants to, black wants to make a minor piece advantage. b5 here, exclam for black, trying to undermine it's a minor attack versus a major attack. In the previous game, I acquired a d5 break for black, and now we see black making his dream of b5 break come true as well. So both breaks. There's this break that potentially could happen, and then there's that break. Bishop c2, b takes c, b takes c, queen c7, rook b1, trying to dominate the open file, rook a, b1, h3, rook takes, and rook b8, rook takes b8, queen takes b8. The endgame is very much in black's favor. Better knight, better bishop, and he'll soon develop pressure on c4. The resulting game with Mr. Donaldson's extremely good technology, or good technique. King f1, if queen b3, queen a7, king f1, queen c5 with a tremendous amount of pressure. So try to avoid that. King g8, king e1, knight c5, king d2, queen b7, king c1, queen b6, king d2, bishop d7. Just pressure, pressure, pressure. Queen c3, f6, bishop e2, or e3, d3, bishop e6, pressure on the pawn on c3, king c2, h5, h4, knight d7, king d2, queen c5, and next he's trying to get knight b6 and win the pawn. g3, knight b6, bishop to b3, knight to c, check, bishop takes, queen to b7 check, bishop f7 blocks, queen e7, queen a3, takes a3, knight to c3, queen b6, b2 check, king d3, bishop e, and then king d2, bishop, queen b4, king d3, and then king to, queen d4, queen d4, check, king c2, and if you notice how slowly but steadily the black's picking up all of white's pawns, king c1. He plays bishop to e, king c2, queen takes f, king d2, queen f2, king d1, queen d4, king c, and then a4. Yeah. It says that I Am McDonald has all the Maroczy themes down to a science. But as we saw, just knowing a few steps and being aware of the imbalances generally enables a player to come up with a clear, logical, effective plans. Let me repeat. These plans aren't based on emotional or wish fulfillments. They are based on clear appreciation of the imbalance, so the clear appreciation of the imbalances. Speaking of wishful fulfillment, let me take a look at what can happen when a player decides to do something that suits his style but doesn't suit the position. He says long ago, in 1834, there were two players, and somebody McDonald. It's D-E, capital D, capital E. I think I could put in their names really fast for you. Let me make sure. see if I have that gentleman's name about right. These were the two players that he's talking about. Who knew the rules of chess landscape with an iron grip. As is often the case, the public wanted to see these chess titans go at each other in a match. That wish led to a struggle of no less than 85 games, which were played over 6 matches in the same year. When the smoke cleared, I don't know how to pronounce this gentleman's name up here, had won a decisive victory which proved that he was without a doubt the best player of his day. One reason for this match win was that that player, described by the English observer of the time, a large, basically a Frenchman, he was in England, of course, had won a decisive victory which proved that he was without a doubt the best player of his day. One reason the match was won was that, described by the English, who spent most of his time basically doing other things sometimes, and at other times he would sing and laugh, played every phase of the game well, while this gentleman here, who was basically pretty quiet and reserved, was pretty much he was a kind of a strong-willed guy, player, but I guess he just didn't have the nerve. He kind of got nervous, probably. That's what could have happened. At the highest level of any sport, a lack of balance is usually leads to a huge fall. That's what Jeremy Silman is saying. And this match was just another example of the rule in action. Let's see here. But when deciding that he could make the opening choice suit him, rather than making moves that were basically conditioned to the opening. So if you make a move that he went out attacking without, and became basically he attacked, was hyper aggressive, and it was ill-advised for this one move that he played on move 3, F5 to F7 to F5, and too early, hoping to heat things up. As a result, he was totally defeated. So we'll do this game here. This looks like an interesting one. Since we've read about the game, we have to find out the game. I'm curious to see. I know you are too. Pretty interesting. I want to see how this actually came down, how he actually won. It's interesting. So d4, d5, c4, c takes d, knight c3, and then f5, which was a mistake here. Just 3 moves in the opening, into the opening, and we already get the impression that something odd has occurred. While Black's first 2 moves created the time-honored Queen's Gambit accepted, his third move, a odd suggestion by Philidor, is something that rarely and probably never appears on the modern chessboard. This leads us to with an obvious question: is f5 bad? And if so, why? Surely a chess legend like Philidor and an attacking powerhouse like Black saw lots of games in the f5 variation. Can you spot the positive feature of Black's third move? The main point of f5 is to fight for the control over e4 so that e4 can't be played. Black envisions that his future of knight f6, e6, and then c6. So basically, this is his ultimate desire. And here, this type of a powerhouse move setup. He'll have a firm grip on e4, and as a result of having stopped white from expanding in the center with e2 to e4, he'll also have an unascertainable hold on d4, the d5 square as well here. There are notable positional dreams for Black, who were filled with basically trying to take the white king out. Basically, this is to get a grip and then go for an attack. However, dreams are one thing and reality is quite another. In this case, Black aggressively grabs e4, does more harm than good. f5, a dynamic try for a static gold, weakens both e5 here, and e6. Loosens up his king, blocks in his c8 bishop, and weakens the a2 to g8 diagonal. In a way, Black's desire of f5 demonstrates both the strength of his main and weakness as a player, his strengths and his weaknesses. Acting the role of the bully and trying to make everyone believe you're flawless vision works against an inferior position, but when the opponent can see beyond the glamour of the position and shows how the move like f5 is actually a bad move. Always the very foundation of your position. It is time to back up and try something less weakening. As we've seen, Black refused to accept the truth, and so his stubbornness led him to being pummeled time and time again for the same mistake. This reminds me of an amateur who fell for who loves gambits like e4, c5, b4, or e4, e5, knight f3, and d5. Basically, certain types of gambits. This can be very effective against other kind of lower level players, and even some of the people that you're teaching. So by all means, play it if you enjoy types of games where it's gambit-like, all out. But remember, if your opponent knows these type of gambits, my friends, they're going to have counters for it. And potentially, if you don't know deep enough the gambit, you will end up losing. But don't embrace our delusional, basically what he's saying, don't embrace the delusional gambit and claim that they are very good. They most certainly are not. Give it up and give it a go if you want, if you must, like a gambit. If you must go for a gambit, give it a go. But once someone fully prepares for you in a proper manner, it pushes you off the board, accept the writing on the wall, and toss the whole mess into the garbage bin. Basically, what he's saying is, when at a certain level, there'll be some people who know you after you beat them. They'll prepare for you as a gambit player, and what'll happen is they'll be ready. And if you lose, you're gonna have to give up those gambits that you love so much. They go for more of a not positional, but more play that is solid. A solider game. Sometimes you can beat a player who thinks you're going to be a gambit player. So white plays e3. White, who is well aware of the shortcoming of black's f5 idea, realizes that the crazy advantages are not called for. So crazy, taking advantage of it right away would be too much rush. Since he's not developed, don't attack if your pieces aren't ready for action. That's what Jeremy Simpson. Thus, he intends to do the following: develop with c4. I'll win the c4 pawn before black tries to defend it with c6 and b5. Dominate the weak light squares, the a2 to a8 g8 diagonal. So bishop e6. Black closes the a to g8 diagonal, knowing white will capture on c4, giving added support to d5 and frees the f bishop. So far, everything is going according to plan. Bishop takes. It's hard to resist a move that develops and wins a pawn and takes control over several weakening diagonal squares. c6. Still going along with the plan, gaining over d3, or gaining over this here and here. Knight f3. White wants to get more pieces out before he goes into, he called it the kill mode. This move develops, eyes the hole on e5 here, and allows knight to g5 as well. In many variations, it targeting the e6 pawn with here. Targeting the e6 pawn, and also preparing to castle. Notice how white moves have been simple, safe, and natural. Yet his opponent's position has demonstrated. His opponent demonstrated time after time that f5 is a weakness, where white is showing that black that your moves are weak and you have a lot of pawn moves but no piece development. And it says creating, and f5 creates a long-term weakness that won't be going away anytime soon. In other words, black manages to hang on in the opening. White will make use of black's structural weaknesses in the middle game and take advantage of him for a long f5 for a long time to come. And if white can see a chance to defeat his opponent, he will happily do so. So bishop d6, first piece comes out for black, and then e4. Here we roll. White, who enjoys a significant lead in development, shows a good sense of timing. Since the king can now castle at the drop of a hat, and since black's king will remain in the center for the foreseeable future, white has everything right, is ready to basically break the center open, and then follow with castles by rook to e1, and quickly follow with queen to b3, and also basically keep the king in the center forever. b5, bishop b3, and then a5. This is actually a mistake, a little too over aggressive. Horrible, that's what it says, but even better, an even better try is f takes e4, knight takes e4, b4, oops, b4, e5, b takes c, e takes d, leaving black with a not so great position. I know what you're thinking. If takes here, then takes, and then queen, oops. If queen takes here, pawn push. And then you have this monster of an attack. Now here, there, and then if takes, rook takes, and white's just in a tremendous lead. White's going to if black castles, white will castle, and he has the light squared bishop's better position. So a5, okay. E takes f, e takes f, castles. Black's complete lack of development, the open e file, and the weakness of a to g8 diagonal promises the second player a basically good attack. White will have a good attack now. a4, bishop takes g, rook takes g, and then bishop g5, queen c7. White's first dubious move was actually queen e2. This is a dubious move. Okay. The black usually the player who played black, who was often playing blitz on the side for he did it for money sometimes, was kind of played very quick. As a result, he missed out on a better move that he could have played. Rook c1 was far stronger than the previous one. Queen b7, rook e1, check, king f7, d5, c5, rook e6, exclam here, bishop takes e6, d takes e6, king takes e6, queen d3, and intending to play rook g1, giving white a decisive attack. King f8 was actually the losing, in my opinion, one of the losing moves. Black wouldn't recover after this lemon of a move. He had to play king to f7 here. Though white's advantage is obvious after rook f e1, you just have to do what you gotta do. Rook f e1, king f7, and rook a c1. Now the idea is you're bringing in the cavalry with rook knight there, or knight takes. Knight d5, he says, it's a pretty juicy move, or nice move. Queen there, and then d5, kaboom, exclam. h6, d takes, queen a6. If queen were to take here, knight takes b5. If knight takes c6, knight takes b5. It's also hopeless. A pawn down. Knight b5. H takes. Knight takes d check. It's a forced mate, so put on your seat belt. That's what he says, because it's going to get a bumpy ride here. King g6. Knight e5. Check. King f6. Queen h5. g6. Queen h7. Faster was knight to e8 check. Exclam. Rook takes, and then g6. King there, check. King here, and then c7 checkmate was faster. Bishop e6. Knight takes, g6. Knight g4. Exclam is also an interesting continuation. It's better to exclam. G takes. Knight e4. And this opens up the whole file. Leads to a quick mate. After here, check. Trying to figure out how does that lead to a quick mate. Let me see. There we go. So that's how it leads to a quick mate. C6, rotate c6, queen takes, queen d3, queen e7 check, takes, king h5, queen h7, king g4, rook c check, f4, h3, queen takes h3, queen takes h3, mate. Good times, that's what he says. And we'll stop after this. After this game, both players seem to make so much needed opening adjustment in the queen's gambit accepted. White switched to e3, a move that was modernly sealed a seal and approval, and black appeared to give up his dream of f7 to f5 is also wonderful. Nevertheless, though, the opening was going through a kind of mature and phase. Both players in the next game, we're going to check. They have a. I think we go over a couple games for these players. Yeah. The resulting white won them all. White was, McDonald or Delwall. I might be pronouncing that wrong, but he started handling it better, but he still lost 0-4. It's hard to swallow. Thus, it isn't surprising that the emotions took over, and he found himself revisiting his beloved F5 to F7 to F5. Sometimes he improved it a little bit with doing some more study, but still, you have to do what the position calls for, and we'll call it on this here. I'm thinking, yep, perfect. That's a good spot. Yes, and what we have to remember is what we take away from here. If the position doesn't call for a certain move, and we're going to go back to that move. This move here, if the position doesn't call for F5, don't play it. Even if you think, man, this fits my style and I love an attacking or a gambit opening or something like that, just don't go berserk unless you have a position development. You're ready for an attack like what we've learned, okay? You have to play what the position wants, and that's important. So if we're taking away something, play what today what we're going to take away as a summary. Play what the position wants. All right. With that, I'll say adieu. I want to thank you for logging on and participating. Remember that the choice to receive the Lord Jesus as Lord and Savior of your life is a vital, important one. If you don't decide one day, you will eventually have to decide, but it may be too late. And that's why the chance right now and the choice to receive Him as Lord and Savior is an important one. Like the move F5, F7 to F5 was a mistake. Not receiving Jesus would be a mistake, an eternal mistake. And you have to always remember that eternity is forever. We talk about that. That's why Bruce Lee says, take what you know and be able to apply it and be willing to do something with it. And always remember to treasure your victories, learn from your losses. Remember that mistakes do not define who you are, my friends. It's how you handle the mistake that defines who you are as a chess player and a person. And you know what? Remember the Team Chess Cruncher motto that we always say when we're sitting down? We sit down, we hang up our coats, we hang up our hats, we sit down and study and win what? Most won't. Team Chess Cruncher does, and that makes all the difference. And as Wesley So says, serve the Lord Jesus as I say, God bless. I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, evening. Lord willing, I'll be back on tomorrow, and we'll keep pushing forward. Remember what Hannibal Smith says. Even inside of what looks like a random position, there's always a plan. And when you find it, you get to say, I love it when a plan comes together. Never force a plan. Always find the right plan and implement it. Okay, 2 thumbs up, hoorah, be blessed. Keep studying chess, having fun, honoring the Lord, and I will see you tomorrow at Team Chess Cruncher. Bye-bye, Team Chess Cruncher, hoorah. Bye-bye, team.